Welcome to the U.K.E-Liquid Mixing Show. It is a Wednesday night. It's time to talk a little bit of mixing and just a little bit of general chat. So we will shout out, we have got a man down at the moment. Tim's been obviously mentioned last week that he was going to have some to a visit to the hospital and they may put him into surgery. He has gone into surgery, so little bit of Zine, just wish her well, and we're thinking about him. So I hope he's all right and everything goes well. So we'll keep you informed of what's going on. So I'll put a community post out or something like that just to let you know how Tim is going on. But big love to little bit here, and I hope Tim's all right. So big love to you.
Big Benny love.
Big Benny love. So tonight you've got myself, Benny Vapes. We've also got our own mixing guru, which is Graham Net Reality. We have got our own mixing detective, which is Liam Sherlock Holmes. We have got the one and only The Chair, Bill, and we've also got Mr. Slipslider himself, Nick from Dripper Labs. So welcome.
Good evening, cheers.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you didn't know what Dripper Labs is, we will go through all that and tell you about it, and Nick will tell you about it. But thank you for joining us, Nick. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the invite.
I'm sure you'll be all right when you're on here and we get going and you're settling a little bit. So what we'll do first of all is we'll go around and see what our vape machines are of choice tonight. So we will start with first of all, I will say to you, if you are in chat, just look at the top. See if you're in live chat. If you're not in live chat, you're in twat chat. So swap them over, and you'll keep up with everything we're doing. So we will ask our guest first. What is your vape machine? Just as he picks up a coffee, what is your vape machine of choice tonight?
So I have two on the go. I've got the Lost Vape Thelma, which is my sort of everyday with the Screamer RDA, and in that I have a creation by Benny Vapes. And I also have my mech mod, which is a Murder AR25, Murder Mods AR25 with the Asgard on top. And in that, I have a community flavor, which is the Raspberry Elderflower Cooler.
Oh, do you want to pass it on to?
Oh, sorry.
We do pass the pie, so it's all right.
Absolutely. I'm going to pass it on to Liam, please.
Okay, that community flavour sounds exactly up my street. I love a bit of floor.
I'll send you the link.
In tonight, I have the V-Sticking 530 with the Profile 1.5 on top, and in that, I am vaping on some nuts. Now, it's a bit of a mashup between carrot cake and banana nut bread, which is actually going down really, really well.
We believe you. 1,000 wouldn't, but we believe you. Do you know what I mean?
The carrot cake is there just as an accent to lift up the banana bread a little bit, and it works really well.
So you're trying to lift up the nuts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh, the age is setting in, Bill.
I've also got the Vupu X217 with a steam grave aromathizer on top in RDA, and in that, I am vaping on cookie butter still.
Oh.
And I will pass it over to Graham.
Okay. I've got the Guar and the Arbiter. You're going to hear a lot of this in the next two of us. In that, I've got my Enlighten. I've got the... Oh, Christ, I've done it again. What the hell is that? The Ultrona Gaia with the barrage. In that, I've got a secret one, which I thought was ready, and it's not ready, so it's going to be a while. I've got the blank with the Aspire Speeder, and in that, I went secret shopping. So I've got, and I'm not going to show the name of it, so you still don't know what it is.
Putting me in my
and I've got the Oxford Zim
Slim.
Yeah, and in that
SE, tell me it's SE, or is it the Zim?
I've got another Dripper Labs one. I'm trying it out in a pod system. Already tried it out on an RDA, so I just thought I'll see what happens there if I put it in a pod, and I'll pass it on to Bill.
I am on the GUR with the Arbiter on top. In that, I've got VST, vanilla something. I am on the Shikra with the Arbiter on top. and in that I have got the I wonder if I'm nuts. And
Well, we
the
keep
answer
telling
is
you, Bill,
yes.
there's no need to wonder anymore.
And I have the evil dildo with the arbiter on top, and in that I've got Van Van Custard.
Drag it out a bit longer because Liam's pissed off. So keep going.
Well,
Keep going.
Well,
Stretch
yeah,
it.
but Liam's already been, has he? Hasn't been.
Yeah, but
yet?
he
Well,
reads chat, doesn't he?
anyhow,
So you won't
when
read
you
chat.
first said we
won't
were
read
going to
chat.
have Dripper Labs on, I thought, okay, Dripper Labs has got to be a place you go to, like when you got gonorrhea or something, because they help take care of the drip. You know,
Drip Labs without the sting, Bill, without the sting.
That's not the same drip. Okay,
No, different, slightly.
I will throw it to Benny.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So tonight I am on, same as normal, the Aegis Max with the Arbiter 2 on top. And inside that I've got some Jammy from ELFC, which is just jam. It's their cheap version. Well, it's not cheap, it's their stuff, but they sell it cheaper than just jam. And I'm also on the Arbiter Solo with the Drop Solo, the Aegis Solo with the Arbiter Solo on top of there, and inside that I've got some RY4 mix stuff that I do for myself, and that's me. Yeah, same as normal. So what we'll do is get Liam to go through chat, if you would, my friend.
We've got a really chatty chat tonight, so I'll probably end up missing out half the people. So
keep typing, type fast. Put anything in the chat. Just keep typing quick and just hit return. Put him off.
In chat tonight we have Lady Liberty, The Melt, The Vaping Snowman, Take Me to the Sea, Vapor Bunny, Richard Young, Fee, Craig D, Shrek Vape Reviews, Hairy Nipple,
Got a few of them.
Craig D, another vape channel,
Give 'em.
NC Borealis Vapes,
Yep.
Flat Cap Vapor,
Ooh.
Rocky Tooney, Vapor Bunny, Cheech Darts, and I think I actually managed to catch up this time. I think I got everybody. If I've missed anybody, apologies.
He will have done.
Flat Cap says he warmed him up for us. I don't know.
He did.
What
He
that
tickled
means.
him first. He just gently played. He's going for full hole now. He's just giving him a little bit of a shufter around. So what we'll do, we'll catch straight on, because like I say, we have got a lot to go through. So we will talk to Nick first. If you didn't know, like I say, what is Dripper Labs, it is a easy mixing sort of website, and that's why we wanted to have him on for for mixers to talk to him, rather than, because he has been on Cloud Cartel with Sloan, he's been on with Flat Cap, who's done a few. So we just thought we'd get him on so he could introduce himself to a mixing side of things, rather than just normal vapor, and see if we can get people to see what they think and transition over. So over to you, Nick.
Wow, okay, very good. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. This is our first kind of, let's say, serious mixing show, although I was called out earlier because apparently it's not too serious. So, but thank you very much for having us. And it's actually a real honour because, like you say, a lot of Dripper Labs is targeted at general vapors, but obviously we have huge respect for DIY and mixers and the art form. So we're super interested to see what you think about it. I don't know exactly what you want me to say, but certainly. So my name is Nick. I'm the managing director, or one of the founders of Dripper Labs, which is an online mixing platform. And what makes us different to anything out there really is that we deliver you custom short fills the next day. So it's not a recipe sharing website. We actually have the other half of that service. So we've got we spent a lot of time in sheds and back red rooms designing the automation behind that. So we actually ship you custom short fills the next day. And unbeknownst to me, Graham and Liam I knew Benny had some bottles because we had a little pre-game chat, but Graham and Liam have also been on the website and bought some recipes of their own. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I don't know what you want exactly, Benny, whether you want me to
go
dive
through it.
into
That was just, that was just a little bit of a round. Yeah, a little bit of a roundup for you. Tim's in. Tim, we hope you're well. We do send you love, mate. I know you're bored, sat there and wide for sound, as Lady Liberty says. Like I say, what I thought we'd do is so the background of it is obviously you've been vaping, and looked at this. Just, we will point out, it's not like the other website that pinches recipes off of
yes, I
ELR,
saw all of this.
and sends it out as they're a fucking, saying that we've done with mixers and all this lot. This is introducing the public to mixing, and you make your own recipes rather than pinch the fuckers from everybody else. Just thought we'd point that out.
Absolutely. So the point of being here tonight is I know there's going to be some DIY specific kind of questions, how it reflects on your own experience in DIY and maybe the limitations versus the benefits, and that's all fair and good. But I'm really here I can give you a tour of the website, I can show you how it works and all those kind of things. So we'll pop in and out of the website. But this is not to do with that company you mentioned in any way or shape or form.
Craig D, there's a company that should be put out there. Don't go on it. Go over to
triplelabs.com.
Yeah, that's for Jim. Go over to, it's on I can't even say his name, whatever he's called. What's he called?
Oh, he's taking it off.
I know, but he does tell them about
it. He did an apology. He did an apology.
He did an apology.
It's, TNOPT.
TNOPT.
The thing is, it wasn't his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. He just generally thought that the people in the industry that had all his recipes had permissions to use them. So he's basically, the guy's been on ELR, pinched 452 recipes off of there, all the top recipes, and did it as a mixing remix, and said, come and buy your flavours from here and you can do that. It's shite. It's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's nothing to do with us whatsoever.
Not to do with us, and not to do with Triple Labs.
The YouTuber who put his very honest and heartfelt retraction out, I had a huge amount of respect for that. It's not easy to say, I was wrong, and like you said, it was absolutely nothing to do with him. So I think he'd done what he thought was a good thing, and I thought he earns a lot of kudos.
He did. He did 100%. He didn't have to put it out. He could have just left it up there, but he did turn around and it's like say, go over and watch him, and he does explain to what happened. He thought it would all with jit, and he got kicked in bollocks with it basically, thrown the train. So just ignore him. If you see it pop up anywhere, just fucking ignore him. Go over to Dripple Labs and make your own recipe up. So how did this all come about, Dripple Labs? I know it's been in sort of around for, is it 2 years now?
Yeah, so 1 year live on the internet, and ever so slightly before that for kind of pre-registration. So a year since you could create a recipe and buy it. The website looks almost nothing like it did a year ago. It's a real ongoing evolution as we sort of get more and more of our vision out onto the platform. But 2 years before that is when we began talking about it. And I think so a little bit of the origin story. So there are three of us. There's myself, there's Jack, who brings the flavor experience. So he was about 10 or 11 years of mixing e-liquid, a lot of it in his own time, and then for about 4 or 5 years as an e-liquid company with a few ranges. And then the third one is Dan, who is the kind of full stack web developer behind the platform itself. So why 2 years before it launched? What we didn't want to do was put something out there that was a gimmick. So it had to be able to scale. One of our sort of offerings is you can make a juice for yourself, but if you want to publish it as a product, not a recipe, onto the marketplace, then we'll ship it for you to anyone who buys it. You get a commission and a few other things that go with that. And therefore, we felt to be a viable business, we had to be able to do 20,000 bottles a month or a meaningful volume and maintain that next day service. That was really important. So we had not enough money to go and buy a machine that could do that. And the other thing is there isn't really a machine that does that, because a lot of equipment is built around pouring 2,500 bottles of the same flavor. That's what that equipment is for. So we developed our own modular in-house system to do the pouring whilst the website was coming together. And one of the things a lot of people say is Dripple Labs is a very well thought out platform, a sort of very total solution. And that is quite literally because we had 2 years to think about all that's not going to work, and what about from the vapors point of view. So that's our background. A couple of engineers and a flavor guy, 3 years in the making and a year.
Did you know each other before, or have you just sort of come together?
Jack, we met partway through, and me and Dan were friends and acquaintances before that. And some of them don't like it when I say this, but I'm not sure we would have undertaken it if we'd have really known
We were getting into
how
that.
arduous. It felt quite easy, you know, like when you, as you well know, at its heart, mixing something is relatively straightforward. So it always felt like it won't be that hard when you bump into the next bit, and you bump into the next bit. But yeah, it solved a lot of problems on the way.
Yeah.
Well, he answered one of my questions, which I was going to ask about the custom machinery, because I had a little dig around, like I always do, a little dig around, and
Told you, would, didn't I?
You did.
So popped over to company house, and there was a custom machinery thing on there. So I was going to bring that up. You know, when you say a modular system of the machine, is that kind of in your lab where it's?
Yes. So, wow, that really is digging. So before we were a vape company, we had to put something on the business category. So we put down production equipment, and it was actually partially because there are a lot of arduous loops that they make you jump through as a vaping supplier. So while we weren't doing it, we thought, well, that's actually a fair representation of what we're doing at this point in time. So yes, we got a factory in August 2020, I think, or 2020, yeah, August 2020, and began taking a refined system that we'd proven sort of one at a time in a shed and rebuilding that in its final production form. Modular because the line is expandable. So we want to add ingredients. We want to potentially add a second line. So that's one of the reasons for that part of it. Very early on, I mean, the machine is an absolute work of art. I mean, not to blow my own trumpet, or our own trumpets, but really early on, we were really proud. We wanted to put it on all the social posts and show people, you know, how it looked and what it did. And then about halfway through, we thought, this is really our only IP, like not only IP, but we wanted Dripper Labs to, we felt it was a strong enough message and a strong enough business to launch without having to show all of that stuff. So to date, it hasn't come out. But one day, I think if we ever get to a place where we feel really comfortable, it would be a great thing to show off. Because
I don't think you should show it off, because as soon as you show it off, somebody in China is going to be sitting there going, making sure.
Oh, that's it. We buy that.
Yeah.
We get that. We sell it.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good point. You know, you could say, well, how much are they going to learn from a photo? And you go, you'd be surprised. Leave them guessing, right?
So yeah, so that's, like I say, that's thank you for a little bit of background on it. It's much appreciated. Is that? So what we'll do then is we will show, do you want to show the website off, go through there?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so we can see, we can do with testing as flavours. I will. You can see
do that now. The other thing I'll say to anyone watching in chat, if you have not signed up to Dripper Labs and you want to go and do that and you sign up, it's going to be a bit difficult for me to juggle right now because I'm on the call, but I will go through everyone who signs up during this call and I will put a free bottle in your account so that you can get a little bit off your first order. So let me do a share screen, juggling lots of bits here. Here we go, right, share screen, that one. Let me know when
Pippa's asking, is it exclusively UK?
Unfortunately, Pippa, at this point in time, it is.
And hello, Pippa. I forgot to mention you, so hello, Pippa.
Hello, Pippa. So yes, it is. It's exclusively UK at the moment. There are plans later this year. All kinds of regulatory things made it more difficult than we perhaps thought. And also, in all honesty, with those limited resources, the three of us, we are very focused on getting the UK to where we want it to be. But yes, at the moment it is UK only. I mean, obviously you could go and have a look around, and but the postage, you can only make an order to the UK. So has everyone got my screen share here?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So I'll do a little bit, and then you guys can sort of, I'll pause for, I mean, throw questions in as you go if you want. So we've just had a reasonably new part of this homepage. So the first thing is, you make your recipes online with Dripper Labs. So once you've signed up, you will get access to your online recipe book, which I'll show you in a minute. And you get your public creator profile, which you can customize. And that's where your recipes will end up, flavors, should you publish them. So we've got 70 ingredients at the moment. When we launched, it was 46. So an expanding number of ingredients that you can pick from. You set the levels of each one that you want in your recipe book using this slider system that I'm sure we'll look at. Our special system pours them and we ship them to you the next day. So this latter part is kind of one of the things that make us special. So we're not a recipe sharing website, and there's obviously huge value in those for DIY mixing, but we are an online mixing platform, and we see that through to the bottle in your hand. If you've never mixed before, well, first of all, that slider system, like I said, we had a lot of time to think about all the gotchas and all the problems. So we've done a lot of work to make it user friendly. But if you really don't know where to start, we have 21 house flavors. So these made by us, but they're open source recipes. So you can actually see exactly what the settings are. It's the same ingredients and the same sliders that you can use in your recipe book. And on top of that, if you like the look of something, let's say, for example, you've got the vanilla tobacco, there is a way which I can show you so you can clone that, make a change. Maybe you want to drop the custard or change it into cream, up the tobacco. So we're more than happy and respectful of the fact that, taste is subjective. So these are just examples for you to learn from or copy and go that way.
Just while we're on, Nick, because we are getting people asking questions, Fee and Craig D is saying, are these flavourings we know? And Craig D says, these are not flavour concentrates, right? So what they want to know...
Let me answer those two separately.
Yeah.
So flavour hacks, drip hacks, those kind of things look like mixing, but you're really adding VG. So it's not that. These are not short, they're not long fills. These are... truly custom recipes. So yes, you can pick and buy from our selection, but you can make truly custom recipes. In comments to two ways of interpreting ingredients we know or flavors we know, there are no branded products on Dripper Labs. So you may see flavors that are created by our community, which we'll look at in a minute, but we don't host any other brands. So everything you see is made by a vapor or us on this platform. And the second thing, which you probably weren't asking, is these ingredients are things that you'll recognize, but they aren't. They are made in-house by us. I hope that answers your question one way or the other.
I think they're sort of asking, are they, the flavourings you use, are they flavours they know, as in, because obviously being a mixer, are they flavoured houses rather than...
Right. No,
do you know what I mean? So you're using flavoured
absolutely.
houses, aren't you? You're not using a custom-made design for yourself. That's what I think they're getting at.
So we'll get into the detail, I'm sure, when the guys in the group get involved. The approach we have is we use concentrates from many different suppliers. And what we try to do is build building blocks, or what we do is make in-house ingredients that are rounded, so versatile, best in class, let's say, examples of a strawberry or a peach or an apricot. So they are perfectly designed to be mixed and matched. I don't know if you guys, as mixers, is that something that you have done yourself? So you take a few different concentrates and make a kind of blackberry or a custard that is representative of your mixing style, of your flavor taste, so that when you want to use a custard, you're not going to any one concentrate, you're going to your little building block. I think they call them bases or stones.
Yeah,
stones. So is that something you guys do?
Yeah.
I actually don't.
Okay.
I play around with flavors, but I prefer to tailor make every recipe, each ingredient.
Okay. So the idea of a stone in DIY is that you have building blocks to, that you are familiar with and make it easier to make different flavor profiles. Dripper Labs is essentially an extension of that. So if I just, not like that. So if I come in here and look at a new recipe, just as an example, these are all of our building blocks. Now, what we've done is try to keep them as separate as possible. So you won't find a mixed berry. If you want to find a mixed berry, you go make a mixed berry and use the berries you want. So each of these are made by us using really high quality concentrates from a wide range of flavor houses to develop the best in class that in our style.
Just let me answer this, Nick. The Mel, no offense, is saying, but it's a mixing show. How's it even viable in in-house flavor concentrate? It means Capella. Yeah, it does. That's what he's saying. But what we're trying to do is, it is a mixing show. This, which we normally do on, but we're trying to show you another way of getting people to do flavours. So if there's people out there that are unsure of coming straight into mixing, as in getting a TFA, Capella, anything like that, we're showing them that they can start with this and play around with this, not just go out and say. So we're opening up this to getting a wider community to give it a go.
Actually, that's a really fair point, Benny. I don't want to take away anything from the art form of DIY, the truly unlimited potential and endless customization of flavor like that. The reason we're grateful to be here is we could be seen as a gateway to DIY. A lot of people that are into DIY said if that was around when I'd started, that would have really helped me get some of the principles in place of layering and how to build rounded flavors and things like that. And there's also a lot of people, and again, I'm sure that's not the demographic of this show, but there's a lot of people who have tried DIY mixing and either don't have the time or the patience to get through those early learning curves, and this allows them to have most of the fun of customizing flavors or personalizing their e-liquids to their own preferences without necessarily all of the journey that you have to go on to get to where you guys are. But it's a fair comment, Mel. I take your point.
It's still mixing.
It is still mixing. This is why we've got them on. It's just a different take on what we do.
Yeah, because here you're going to be able to say, nobody's ever put a blackberry with an onion, and I always wondered what that would taste like. So you get to have that mixed. So you're still coming up with the profile that you want and saying, I want to see what this tastes like. So it's still mixing. It's not, it's not a commercial something that when you buy it, it's all already there. You're picking what goes in, mixing it.
Yes, exactly. And this is what Greg's saying. So it's basically DIY for noobs. Yes, that's what it is. Yeah. DIY for noobs, basically. It's, it's like getting when you used to get the computer books, Idiot's Guide to Mixing, and do you know what I mean? It's basically that form, isn't it, really?
Or lazy people. It doesn't have to be noobs. You could be just freaking lazy.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, no.
It's really good for people that may have only just started out on DIY and they've only got 30 or 40 concentrates, and they fancy a profile that doesn't actually use any of the concentrates that they have already got. So instead of going out and buying another 20 TFA, Capella or Wonder flavors, they can just go on to Dripper Labs and just select from the pre-selected flavors, and there are quite a lot of flavors on there as well. I was quite surprised to see how many were on there when I went on to order.
Thank you, Liam. That's very kind. Yeah, and I think the other thing is for, like I said, for a lot of people, the barrier to entry on getting involved in DIY. So we talked about people that have tried it and it's not for them. We've talked about people who've been through that learning curve and popped out the other side and get all the benefits of full DIY. I think this is that friendly place to see. And again, it's compared to mainstream. So many people come in and say, all I want is a less sweet juice. I'm sick of gambling, rolling the dice on a £15 or a $20 bottle of mainstream e-liquid, and all too rarely finding something that I would buy again. So for them, they're able to just come and get some of the benefits without some of the things. And I hope that some of those customers go on to find, all the passion you need to get through those learning curves. I'm not suggesting it's 3 years to learn to do DIY. You'd be in a really good place in a few months, but it's certainly not one batch. That the lifelong experience of extreme knowledge of library of concentrates, those things come over time. But yeah, so we're either a gateway or an alternative to mainstream. And frankly, the last thing I'll say on that is we are proud to be different. There's not enough these days in the vaping world that is just different. And we think we're putting something out there that is different.
I think it fills quite a nice little gap in the market.
Shall I?
Yeah.
Well, Craig, for a bit.
Craig C's just pointed out it's DIY for lazy cunts.
The other thing is, I mean, you might, if you order something, and let's say, for instance, I saw Apple on there, and you've got it mild, and you've got this, that, and the other on there, and then you get it, and you vape it, and you think this is good, but the apple, if it was a little higher, I'd rather taste a little more of that, I think, in this. And then next time, if you go in to order it, you just slide that up the slide a little higher.
That's
so you're
right.
still getting a chance to play around. If you buy a commercial juice or something that it's not strong enough in one, then you just got to go out and look for something different. You've got to start a whole new search. Here, you can just tweak it a bit and get it to where you're at.
And this is one of the things that really inspired us to get involved with. There shouldn't be anywhere near as many juice graveyards as they are. The drawer full of barely touched juices and things like that. So that option to make a change, and even though it is DIY for newcomers or for everyone, let's say everyone's a nice phrase, DIY for everyone, we also have lots of that DIY experience. So those revisions, we can go back, see what we used as the starting point for this. When we make changes to it, let's say we want to drop the caramel out, increase the dragon fruit, whatever, those are all revision controlled. So you can follow that journey. You can make tasting notes against it. If we go and look at some of the community flavors that are out there, for example, let's have a look at this one. We can see what version they're on. If they get reviews, it's against that revision. So it's kind of all very connected, the way that you can. And actually, I'd love to ask this question to you guys. So I know a few of you have already published juice lines, either early in your mixing days or now. One of the things that we would hope appeals to a DIY mixer, even though you have a few limitations over the full plethora of DIY, is the ability to publish those flavors to our marketplace. So for free at any time, you build your own product pages. Your recipe remains private, but you publish it as a product. If you make a sale, you get a commission. You're not going to retire on it, but it reduces your cost of vaping. And we take care of everything. So, you are purely able to do the creative part, whether that's build the brand, the look, the feel, and we ship and do all the sort of operations behind it. Is that something that is interesting either, or would have been perhaps in your DIY careers?
I know there's quite a few DIY mixers out there that actually want to get onto the one-shot market or something like that. And when I first started out, to get onto the one-shot market, it's quite hard to do, because people need to know who you are, and you need to have quite a catalogue of recipes with quite a few successes before somebody's even interested in taking up a one-shot line. Mm-hmm. So this would be a really good stepping stone for those people that want to have their mixes marketed, so they can go on and promote them on Dripper Labs.
One thing I'll say that's been really interesting is we've had, in that first year, I think 4 or 5 people come to us and ask about doing a large run that they could put in shops. And, they're talking to other flavor houses where you sort of pick from a menu of 100 stock flavors, then you white labeling companies. And they're ready to spend a couple of £1,000. And I think the first on that minimum order type thing. And the first thing I kind of say to them is, I think the vaping market is so difficult. Exactly what you said, Liam, about how you even break in the name that you need just to be listened to, or a lot of these big websites, you pay money just to be listed with a product or on a short fill product. So one of the things I always say to them is, there is a potential for us to do that for you, and you can develop a flavor on the platform. But actually, if I just go to one example, this is one of the guys that I was talking about. So we had a conversation with these guys. They wanted to do that. And I said to him, why don't you use, don't spend £2,000, spend £100, develop a couple of flavors, practice with your brand, develop your brand, like the range, your flavor selection, get a feel for it, see what sells and what people are interested in, and sort of have the fun and see how it goes. But don't get, I feel like a lot of those white labeling companies are very ready to sell you 3,000 bottles, knowing that it's a lot harder to get rid of them and to find an outlet for those. So as a sandboxing exercise to feel like you're part of the vaping community, put your name and brand and ideas on something, but in a very affordable and digital way, rather than with a big outlay.
No, so I think that's a good idea. Like I say, if you want to get into it, and like what Liam says, obviously he has a sponsor, which is DIYFlavorchaser.co.uk. Do go over and get your concentrates from there if you want to do it. If you want to do your concentrates. Like I say, it is sponsored. But that's where, if you get a recipe on there, if sort of a mixer who's doing mixing on ALR or what is it, comes onto your platform, makes a flavour, thinks to try it, this is really good, it's a gateway to go over to Liam's site to buy a concentrate from the flavour he's making. Do you know what I mean? And it sort of works both ways then, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It sort of opens it up for people who can't go on ELR and thinks, you know, say like, you know, like Pugs who's on, you know, Simon's show, they're not going to, are we going to try it? Well, we've not really tried his recipes. We're going to get a bottle. Is it a bit shit? Yeah, it is. If they've done it on there and think, well, it's not too bad in that flavour, we'll give his proper flavour a go then. It's a gateway for them as well, isn't it? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. You know, it sort of opens it up both ways for DIYers doing that, doesn't it? That it's getting the names out that think, oh, they are good, you know, yes, they haven't done it, but they know where the flavours are on there, which we'll go through showing you how to adjust the flavours and that. When we go have a look at it, but it's, you know, it does work for mixers as well, because I played around with it and that, you know.
One little thing I'll add there, so it's kind of like 3 layers the way I sort of see it, or maybe 4. So first layer is, if you are a completely normal vapor and you're just enjoying the idea of playing with pairings, you don't need any expertise. You go and slide some sliders and hit the button. If you are interested in going a little bit off the beaten path, then there's some really intuitive things you can do, like use the candifier and the cooler to change the nature of the flavor you've made. The next bit is, I think, the first layer, where having DIY experience gives you an edge over someone just turning up. All the little tricks of the trade, like a bit of dragon fruit to sharpen up another flavor, or a bit of cactus to give it a mouthfeel like a drink. Those things can be done on the website. And at the moment, we don't really introduce that to people yet. We're a few steps behind, but you can do it, you know. And when I was watching Benny mix, in fact, we look at all the recipes before they get poured just to check that, you know, nothing's awry. And you can tell a mixer straight away, like really easily, when you look at a recipe that someone's made, the way they balance or round a flavor. And then the last bit is, there are some flavors that at the moment you can't get there. Like, you can't turn a mango into a Malaysian mango. So that's where we look at expanding that ingredient selection, you know. So some of it you can build and elaborate on one of our elements and turn a custard into a different natured custard, or a cream into an ice cream or whatever. But there are some things where you can't get there without more ingredients from us. And we'll never get to the 2,000 concentrates, but we will keep opening up those new areas.
That sort of leads me on to the question that I wanted to ask. If somebody was they were using your sliders and they put a massive amount of, say, blackberry in, and you knew at 95% on the slider they're going to be getting a perfumey note, or they've tried mixing it with something, with another flavor where it just won't work, do you actually reach out to the customer and say, are you sure that this is what you want, because we believe this may happen? Or do you just mix and send?
So it's somewhere in between. So the first thing is, we do check every recipe, but we're not necessarily looking for what you described. We'll talk a bit more about the sliders in a minute, because I think that's where how much strength is too much strength, and we'll get to that in a second. What we look for is recipes. So if you want to make a menthol custard, I don't judge you. I probably should, but I don't. What we're looking to do is make sure that will be a reasonably good menthol custard. And the things we check are overall flavor strength. So there's a bar at the top that represents overall how much of your bottle is going to be flavor. So you'll always get a full bottle, but it's how strong all that is. So let's say I'll give you a good example of a pitfall there. A pure DIYer comes on and they go 2, 5, 10, 12, and we'll talk about the percentages in a minute, but they set up a very traditional e-liquid recipes style concentrate percentages. So the total bottle is like 10% flavor. We would definitely get in touch with you and explain that is not going to be what you want. We check for sweetness, and that it's quite a wide range, you know, anywhere from 5 to 60. If it was your first recipe, we would talk to you if you put no sweetness in. We would go, that's cool if you did that knowingly and that's what you want, that's fine. But we recommend, you know, Maize Dream E-liquid is like 50 to 60%, though if you don't like it, 10 to 20, etc. So we check flavor strength, we check sweetness, and basically just generally a quick eyeball that it's there or thereabouts. So if you want me to bring up the sliders, that's probably the right way to answer your question, Liam. So let me do that. Right. Okay.
So Pippa's put on, we'll go through slides in a minute, Pippa, which she did put on. If this had been around 6 years ago, she wouldn't be down rabbit hole she is now.
It's a very common response, you know, and there are, you know, we talk about pros and cons here. No one's saying Dripper Labs is cheaper than DIY. It never will be. It's the cheapest way. It's the best way if you are only looking to save money. So we are honestly priced because we don't have any stores. We only sell direct to the customers through this website, and we like to think we are very honestly priced for the quality of what you're getting. So it's £5 for 30 mil. It's £10 for 60 mil. So I'm going to show you what that looks like very quickly. So any flavor on the platform, as I said, all of these are poured bespoke for you, for your order. There's nothing sitting on the shelf in terms of finished product. We'll talk about steeping in a minute. So yeah, you can pick anything from 6 milligram down to 0 milligram and anything in between. So 30 mil, which is another thing we're really happy with, a great way to iterate. You know, I know a lot of you DIY guys probably do 10 mil just to sort of get the right idea, but 30 mil bottle, great way to try other people's flavors, get your iterations right before you go up to 60. And this price includes your nick shots if you need any. So yeah, honestly priced. Let's go and talk sliders. So what's the right way of doing that? Let's go back to my special apple pie. Right. So I would say, and let me rephrase that as a question. As when you're doing DIY, yes, of course, if you want to know what the specific nature of a certain concentrate tastes like, but probably one of the biggest headaches is getting your head around either the recommended percent, the max percent, or what do you use it at? A bit like Liam was saying, when's enough? And there's two main gotchas around that. Well, first of all, too much often is what results in that chemically synthetic flavor, and it can also plateau. So adding more and more and more doesn't keep giving more flavor. So it might not ruin the bottle, but it's not giving you any more. And there's really only a few very hard-earned ways to know those numbers. Yes, some manufacturers might tell you what percent it is, but not very meaningful. All the great ELR forums, all of those are one place. Great shows like Benny Vapes. That is how you learn. But ultimately, it's down to you, subjective taste, and you've got to go and find those. We've taken that principle of the kind of bookend of what maximum concentrate strength is, and we put that up here. So if what am I doing here? Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We can see on the thing. So each ingredient's slider is unique to its ingredient. So whether that's the color gradient, which we'll look at in a minute, or the maximum level. So when you use our apple at 100%, it's basically us saying that's the most apple that you can have in a bottle before you go over that cliff, or you were flirting with the edge. And the name of the game is to balance all of that out. So that stops one of the big gotchas, which is, you know, when you first start mixing, you think more is better. And we've all sort of gone through that process of realizing that isn't always the case. So you can't go over the chemical cliff. And the second thing is that what we've done, I think I'm just going to take a couple of these out to show a good example. So if we bring up something like anise and something like natural yogurt, the way that flavor builds is also kind of unique to each ingredient. So for example, when you bring a little bit of anise in, we've got these levels, these interim stages between and the color gradient. So even here at 14% of anise's maximum that you can use it at, it's going to have quite a significant effect on your flavor. Whereas for the yogurt, you might get all the way up to 30 or 40% before you tick into mild. And to really taste it, you know, you need to go it up here. So the idea behind these sliders, the color scales, is to give you a feel for I mean, nothing is an exact science. It's the best that we've been able to come up with to make it intuitive to someone to have a good idea of what the end result is going to be like. So any questions, thoughts on that so far?
Yeah, like Pippa put in her own. So dragon fruit, she's saying if you take dragon fruit right up to its full amount, she was saying it's going to throw all the flavours out. But what we're saying is these sliders are, that's the maximum that you're, so if you put dragon fruit right up top, that's sort of where it does start throwing everything out. That's what we're saying. If it's in the red, that's where the red, it's saying if you put it right up to the red, that's where it's going to start throwing things out. What they're saying is if you keep it in the green, it's going to not throw everything. Do you know what I mean? They're recommending the greens where it's at its optimum flavour to mix with everything else.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the sliders now, and obviously the sliders don't know what you want as a main flavour. So if you push the dragon fruit right up to the top, you possibly want the dragon fruit as a main flavour, and then all the others to fall in behind. So there is no way of building that into the system where it says, oh, hang on a minute, you wanted to use the dragon fruit to pop up the strawberry a little bit. So you sort of have to have that little bit of knowledge there to do that anyway.
Yeah, so we're always trying to walk a tightrope, and we're slightly on one side, but we want it to be easy and not too scary. And we also want to give you as much flexibility as you can. So we've talked about wizards, and there is things you could do. You could say, like if you imagined it as a step-by-step process, pick 2 leading flavors. Now pick 2 complementary, like rounding elements or something like that. You could do that. At the moment, we're not there just yet. One thing we generally say, and I don't know if you kind of agree or disagree, but we have this sort of dummy here. So we say background ingredients you will not pick out in their own right. They will be augmenting other elements, other stronger notes. They'll gravitate to similar flavor profiles, and they'll adjust them. In mild, broadly speaking, you will be able to begin picking it out depending on the device and things like that. Strong, you should know it's in there. You should know it's coming through. And intense, you're going to start bullying other flavors. Unfortunately, as you say, it's not an exact science. If someone comes in here, and let's say I do, let's put blackcurrant. Oh, I put blackcurrant and yogurt just as a little example. I know that, what I've just described says that this should taste more of yogurt than it will of blackcurrant. But we know that's not the case because obviously the strongest yogurt in the world, blackcurrant's a bully, so the strongest yogurt in the world is not going to be more strong. It's all directional. And I don't know if anyone in chat has got any comments around, whether it feels intuitive or reflects your own DIY experience. The main difference that puts most people DIYers off is this, which is they're used to dealing in percentages of bottles, so 2, 5, 7, 10, 25, something at most. To us, if you personally have decided that Sweet Strawberry by Capella, your maximum is 20, and in a particular recipe you use it at 10% of bottle, in our world that's a straight 50%. That's the main calibration that you need to go from DIY to our sliders.
Yeah, Pippa, we're not saying it's as easy as moving the sliders up and down. What he's saying is, because she's saying if you put, obviously being a mixer, she's getting at that if you put too much dragon fruit in or you put too much, anise in, it's just going to knock every other flavour out. They understand that. That's why they're saying that, on there, that slider is where they're saying the maximum of flavour is going to be. So we know, you might put it in at 2%. They might say, well, at 5%, that's when you're going to taste the dragon fruit. So that's strong. That's where everybody gets mixed. So that's what he's saying. When you put it up to 100%, it's not 100% of a mix.
Maybe I should give an example that I think everyone will be able to maybe this will be the breakthrough moment. Let me put this up. So I'll use sweetness and I'll give you the real numbers. How do I do that? There we go. Back into that. Okay. So give us some examples, guys. And I know you're probably on the lower end. If you were going to use a typical sweetness or sweetener in your flavors, what concentrate percentage might you use it at, broadly speaking?
0.25
0.25. Okay, from Bill the Chair. Anyone else want to throw something in?
Just round.
0.5.
Yeah, 0.5.
0.5. Right.
Depends on
So-
what sweetener I'm using.
Very true. Very good. There you go. Expert answer. All right. So I'll let the cat out of the bag. In our world, the most sweetness that you can have in a bottle is 2.5%. So if you put it up here, that is 2.5% concentrate of bottle ratio. So for Bill wants 10%. So that would be Bill's typical 0.25% concentrate. That's where he'd be. What do we have? Double that. So 20% would be for Benny. So that's a real world example of the end result is familiar to you. And if we look at that now, so apparently Benny is in the mild range of sweetness, whereas Bill is more a kind of background kind of guy. And now, obviously, it's all language around flavor, it's not, again, but that's a real world example of how it works. And for each of these, obviously, I'm not going to go through all of them. We've looked at our in-house recipe for the blackcurrant. We've looked at the concentrates that make that up, and we've done a lot of testing. These maxes was a huge part of our development, where we had the flavor. What we were trying to find out is where's that flirting limit where you're not going to get any more out of it, and if you go any further, you're going to risk, getting unpleasant results, unpleasant chemically results. So hope that helps, Pippa.
What kind of feedback?
Yeah.
Sorry?
So what kind of feedback have you gotten so far from people that have used your slider system to mix some stuff and everything? Have you know?
Yes, it's extremely positive. I will put a caveat on that I would reckon 95% of the people that use the platform so far are not mixers. So I think, what have we got here? So we have just had our 300th unique customer. So that's how many accounts there are. 300 people have spent money with Drip Labs, tried it at least once. I'll give you two stats that I feel is a good reflection on customer satisfaction. The first one is that it sounds made up because it's such a round number, but 50% of people that have tried us once have bought a second time.
Okay.
And 68% of people that buy twice will go on to buy 5 times or more. So in terms of, I don't know why that's resonating. Obviously, you need the quality, you need the service. There's those elements, whether it's the dissatisfaction with mainstream. But yes, certainly in terms of the satisfaction on quality, it's probably a good segue into trying some flavors, I suppose, before I corner myself too much. But no, it's been very positive. And in terms of the sliders, I think it's a fine line for us, because we know we can do more, in the sense that I think everyone that tries it goes, actually wasn't that difficult. But I think we lose a lot of people. When I said, what was it, 950 accounts, only 300 people tried it. I reckon half of those went, I don't know enough about this. I've heard DIY is really difficult, or I just, it's a confidence thing. So whether that means the sliders are too difficult is probably not the right way. But I think the way that we get that across, I mean, what I'm looking at here is not that dissimilar to what you will come into as a first-time user. There's no onboarding. We've got videos on YouTube and a few bits, but we don't hold your hand through that first recipe. And I think we could do better there.
Yeah, I think personally, I mean, looking at it I guess it depends on the background of the individual that's coming in here to utilize the sliders. Personally, from my standpoint, as I was looking at them earlier, until you have gone through this lengthy process of explaining them, I would say if that percentage itself was not over there, and I had the green, the yellow, the red, the whatever else, that it would be easier.
It's almost
to navigate,
like,
and because when you keep looking over at that percentage over there, I'm looking over there thinking this don't even add up to 100. It adds up to way too much. It doesn't make sense, and it's and so that would confuse me more. Whereas if I just looked here and said, okay, this green is good, the yellow I'm starting to get, and if I get into, so I would be rolling it into green and yellow and whatever else, and I wouldn't worry about the percentage. Just I think I would be less confused if that number wasn't there.
When I went on to create mine, I found the sliders quite intuitive to use
Mhm.
because I wasn't looking at it as say 55% flavor. I was looking at it as 55% of the actual recipe. So I did a cake creamy custard with rum. So I knew I wanted the cake to be the first flavor and the main flavor I tasted. So I actually pushed that up. I think it was around about 45-50% because I wanted that to be the main flavor in there. So as I said, I was looking at it as being like 50% of the recipe, and then the rest of it fell in behind as opposed to 50% flavoring.
So these are both great points. I think Bill's we've had a couple of people. So just so you know, before we went live, we did a nearly 50 what we called one-to-one creative sessions, which is very much like what we did with you, Benny, although it was a bit more detailed back in the day. We would walk you through it and we almost let people use it and see what are you doing, why are you doing that. So these don't have to add up to 100. This is your kind of overall measure if you want. So there is a limit to what you can have in a bottle, and you know we all know the sort of the balancing act of getting the flavors and the layering the way you want it. This is an example of what we look at if someone put, you know, let's say I gave that example earlier of a classic DIY recipe, you know, where someone put something in like this. To them, that might be sort of percent of concentrate bottle. This is alarming to us because obviously you've got a lot of that bottle which is not flavor. But again, you don't have to fill the bottle. You don't always want volume 11. You don't always want a double espresso. So anywhere in this region is going to be fine. And we went around these circles many times. As an example with the flavor strength, we didn't want people to think that they're getting 68% of a bottle. So, but you can't also just have a thing that stops on its own for no apparent reason. So you're trying to strike this, you got to give them a bit of feedback. And my comment to the percentages is, first time round, you would have done well, Bill. When you come back to it and you want to make more precise adjustments or compare a couple of revisions without that numerical reference, I think you'd quickly go mad.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, like I said, but I was just saying from the standpoint of a new user into it, depending on how they've been mixing, that there's certain aspects of it that you were saying that 300 people have done and a bunch haven't. They got in there and they're like, maybe they were like confused, you know.
And a basic mode, I think, does capture what you're getting at, Bill. That first time, you know, keep it as simple as you possibly can, and then turn on advanced mode to see another layer.
I think
you guys want to
just while they're on with the flavors, like Bob's saying, 55 flavoring sounds like an U.K.E-liquid. I think what they're looking at is like with mixers coming on is 55%. Yeah, it's not 55%. It might only be 10%. Yeah, because and some people said, wouldn't it be better just to, like Rocky Tooney put in, wouldn't it just be better to put percentage of where you're moving it across and have it as a real time sort of equivalent? Do you know what I mean? That's what they're saying. So when they slide it up, they know it's 2%. It's 1%. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, you know, so it gets a bit sort of confusing for us coming on and looking at it and thinking, well, I'm putting, you know, 100% of a flavouring in.
Almost 20 times more than I would.
Yeah. I think
one of the problems is this is such a known issue that anyone that's joining after we cover it will make that same comment. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so jarring. It's instantly jarring. So if you heard the explanation, okay, I follow. That makes sense. I could deal with that. If you've not seen it and you look at those sliders, you think that flavour can't even exist. It can't even fit in a bottle, let alone anything else.
We'll bring on what Nick didn't know, that me and Liam went secret shopping. So we ordered without him knowing. Liam, do you want to do your experience?
Just hold up. Well, we're going to just because the melt point. Would it be better to put info tabs on the slider to explain things?
There is.
It's overcomplicated for me, but now you've explained it, it makes sense. I think they're sort of saying that there's no sort of instructions
So
without
we do
having
have
to click on things. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. So we have. I'll just go back one more, and then I'd love to. I really am very excited to hear the secret shopping experience. So I'll just go back one more time, and I'll show you what we do have and what we don't have. So every ingredient has a short description, and at times you'll find explanations there. Like, so for example, on the cheesecake, as you push it higher, you'll get more of the biscuity notes. So it's a combination of a little bit of an explanation of the nature of the flavor and also a little bit of tips on how to use it. So they're in there. This is a very important section here. So this is where you're going to be able to do things like add the cooler, change it into a more tangy or a candified flavor, those kind of things. Each of these actually shows, oh, sorry, bad example. Each of these shows the same information. So that's just ingredient information. We have, if you are new to the sliders, and I do appreciate, by the way, we could put this in 100 places and people still don't click it. So there are challenges always. So this is where you might get your first introduction to the slider, and hands up admission, we don't talk about it in DIY terms. Another opportunity for improvement there. And the last thing is I will just show you one other thing. I think this will work because I wasn't changing the, hang on, help, there we go. So let's say we have a whole wealth of information in here about not just what the sliders mean, but like examples. And again, I don't know how many people read these, but we talk about, if you're going to set things in very similar ways. So there's all kinds of help here. In fact, on our house flavors, can you see this, by the way, guys? Like words. So in our house flavors, you can actually get a walkthrough of every one. So if we go to the apple pie, for example, we'll tell you, and again, you guys know all this, but perhaps someone else doesn't, dragon fruit, what's that doing in the recipe? Why is there strawberry jam in the mango lemonade? So there's a lot of stuff here. I think our issue is it's not the way people expect to get assistance in the modern world. What they want to see is like onboarding, so like overlays or a video in the place that you're in, showing you how things move around, or perhaps a wizard to do your first one. So those are all things we want to get better at as we go forward. Okay, secret shopping, definitely now.
Secret shopping. So stop sharing and we'll bring it back.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. There we go. Sorry.
So I'll go on and share mine, but went on and I wanted to have a browse of the flavors and then realized that I was actually creating an account to do that. So created an account and went on. I had a little look around, had a look at the community recipes and everything else. Then I thought, right, I'm going to create one of my own. Then I'm going to also order one of their house flavors to give that a try. And I'm also going to mix up my own version of what I made on Dripper Labs on ELR, just to compare, to see how it actually felt. So I'll just do a share screen on my recipe.
He's so much more thorough than I am.
Yeah.
So I my usual naming, I called it the Kraken because it's got rum in it. So I thought I'll have a cake with a creamy custard and a little splash of rum, just to tickle it up, just almost like a rum cream in that custard. So when I had a look at it, I found the sliders, as I said, quite intuitive because I was looking at it. Instead of it being 54.6% flavor, I was looking at it, right, I'm going to be creating a 15% total flavor recipe. So I'm going to want cake as 54% of that 15%, so that it's actually the main flavor. So I dropped in cake 54.6, a little bit of caramel, the 29.8, then a little bit of cream, just as because I wanted that as a background flavor to the custard. So I made the custard a little bit stronger and just a very light amount of rum. Now, when the flavors arrived, I've actually been trying it now on the show while we've been talking. And it's pretty much how I expected it to be. The cake up front, I'm going to be doing another revision on this because I know I can't quite taste the caramel. So I know the caramel needs to go up a little bit. and the sweetness is a little bit too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
One
after
thing sorry, I'm just going to say one thing. So just in case anyone is listening and taking what Liam's saying as gospel, he's stumbled on a totally appropriate way to build that up. It isn't the sum total of those. So that 54% isn't of the recipe, it's of how strong that cake could be, like we sort of talked about a couple of times. So I think that's probably why, Liam, on that V1.1, you're probably maybe going to take everything apart from the sweetness up by a little bit, just to punch that home.
To be honest, I'm actually quite happy with where the cake is, because
Really?
I when I develop recipes for myself, I don't actually pump that flavor quite a lot.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad. Jack would love that, because everyone feels the need to put everything to 100% flavor strength on that top bar, and he, as a real mixer, is much more of a fan of. He describes it as you end up chasing the tail. If you make everything stronger, you have to make everything else stronger to come through against it. Yeah. And actually, there's certainly nothing wrong with a more delicate flavor. I like that.
Yeah. So I think I've probably stumbled over my words, and I was actually looking at it. So I'm assuming with the cake, then you'll be looking at it at, say, it would be a total of 6% is the maximum amount you'd use in a recipe, because you then get the off notes. So you can only use 6%, which is 100%. So on the slider.
Yes.
So then you drop it down to where you want. Yeah.
Yes. So put it this way: you could double, and it doesn't necessarily mean the impact would double, but you could have a cake that's twice as strong, just under, than you have it at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the second revision, I know I'm definitely gonna have to pump that caramel up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably push the custard up just a little bit, because it's not quite there yet, and I am getting that rum, and that rum I think is sitting exactly where I wanted.
Nice.
So, to be honest, for the V1 and the first order for themselves, I'm actually quite pleased with how it's turned out. I'm
delighted to hear it, Liam. That's great news. Thank you. How long ago did you order it? So how long have they steeped for? Because we haven't talked about steeping yet. But...
I actually ordered it. I meant to order it Sunday and forgot. Then I meant to order it Monday and forgot. And I actually ordered it yesterday. I paid for the 24-hour shipping just to make sure I had it.
Woo!
So it's turned up today. So it's literally been 2 days.
So a quick comment on the steeping. Every individual building block, so every ingredient that we have is pre-steeped. So the caramel on its own, the rum on its own is mixed with VG at 70-30 on the line. And it's been there steeping beforehand for 2-3 months. Then it goes onto the line. So hopefully you can tell that certainly wasn't a 1.5 day old, concentrate meeting VG. Yeah. The bottle will evolve, obviously, so your recipe, your elements have only just met each other 24 hours ago. Yeah. So it's going to get better. We say 2 days, typically. Certain notes will come out over longer times, but hopefully you saw the benefit there of that pre-steeping, that it's not a 3 week or a 30 day or
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's not a raw, fresh mix.
Yeah.
Now, I actually went on to ELR, as I said, and did a version of, make sure I'm sharing the right one, yeah. And I actually did a version of the juice I made on ELR. So I guess you were probably using flavor stones to actually make up those individual ingredients, like apple custard cake. So for the cake, I actually did yellow cake, 2.5% with sugar cookie at 1.25%, just to make sure that cake was a front flavor, and then 1.5% in a way of custard, because I wanted that little bit of bakery just to pop up that cake a little bit, and some vanilla custard from Wonder Flavors at 2.5%, and 1.5% light rum. I did actually forget to put the cream in, and 0.75% of TFA sweetener, which is about the same sort of level of sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so the ELR one is actually, even though it's quite fresh, that's still sitting exactly pretty much where I want it. But yeah, the experience with Dripper Labs is really good. The praline ice cream. Now this will teach me not to actually look at the sliders before I order. Because I just had a vape on that, and the cooling in it actually quite surprised me.
Too
I
much.
don't-
What is it? 40% on the house flavour, I think.
I'm not too sure.
I will
'cause
just quickly. I will quickly check for you.
as
So
I
house
said,
flavour.
I didn't actually look at the sliders. I just thought,
It's
praline ice cream. That sounds nice.
42% of maximum coolness on our praline. So the coolest slider is at 42. So you're going to know that's cold. It's not going to blow your head off, but it's cold.
No, it is a really nice flavour. But as I said, the cooling actually caught me by surprise because I don't use cooling with ice creams.
So, and I know that's a provocative subject. So, for example, that'd be a good candidate to clone. So I'll show you very quickly how you would do that. I think I showed you earlier, but without talking about it. So let me go.
Just while you're doing, we have had a couple of questions come in as well.
Yeah, go for it.
So the Melt says, take me out off to your web developer. They've put a lot of time and work into this. And Bob's saying, don't the flavours have to steep together, not just with VG?
Yeah, there is an element of that. So what we're saying is that, put a number on it, the majority of the long steep is raw concentrate mixing with VG. Of course, if you use real subtle touches of something like yogurt or coconut, it's going to take maybe a week to come through. Most flavors like your fruits and even that's an example. People normally use custard as a great example of something that needs a strong steep. It's 90% of the way there. So so we recommend 1 to 2 days. The main reason we actually say it is because what we don't want people doing is shaking and vaping straight away. That's fine, we don't mind they shake and vape, and then making changes. We don't want them diving right in and going, oh well, now I need my coconut up here instead. And if you're doing a review of someone else's product, so it's really just a warning to say, let it settle, have 3-4 tanks, come back to it at the end of the week before you make your judgment on it. By all means, make some notes on day 1 or 2. Like, Liam's had a perfectly good experience on essentially day 1. It was poured and shipped yesterday. So just if you did want to copy that praline ice cream, what you would do is when you go to create, instead of picking blank, you can also build your own stones. So if you have recipes that are partial, you develop a custard base, you want to do a range with fruits on top of those custards or pies and crumbles, you can use your own bases. So we have that principle. What you would do is come and pick that praline ice cream and call it praline ice cream proper. And you would get, for historical reference, you'd get the original flavor, and it says this was copied from the praline ice cream. And then all you would do is pull that cooler either right down or get rid of it completely, and that is you ready to go, Liam. So that's this is actually one of the most complex flavors we have. We try not to encourage people to go too wild, but I think Jack wanted to flex a little bit. So there's a lot going on in here. Anyway, I won't steal the screen for any longer, so I just thought I'd show you that copying is possible.
Take Me to See says another issue would be 5 different producers of strawberry would possibly require a different percentage, and one might be better with juice than one with cream. We did talk about this, didn't we, when I was talking to say, well, you've just put a strawberry on. Is it a candied strawberry? Is it a, and this is where they've sort of took the strawberry that they think. But we have talked about, are you going to put a candy strawberry on there instead of a, just a strawberry? Is it going to say juice? You juice it up. You've got strawberry jam. We have talked about this, that the yeast flavours that people are wanting different, and that's what they're expecting. You're not going to get that just by saying strawberry.
Yeah, and I think I'll work back from those 2 examples I gave earlier. No matter what you mix with an authentic mango, you can't turn it into a Malaysian mango. No matter what you mix with a red apple, you can't turn it into a green apple. And then the layers below that, there is a lot of potential to augment and adjust and personalize other elements, either with DIY expertise or just by using your intuition. So the ones where you can't get there without the tools, that's the sort of thing that we look to add on to the line, the next ingredient. So a Malaysian mango, you mentioned a real glaring omission was the lemon. There's no pure lemon. So we've got a lemon and lime. We've got a lime. We have a lemon, Sicilian lemon, ready to go. It's not on there yet. So, there are holes for sure. But we have that modular system to get there over time.
So we'll add to it, like say, where you'll be able to pick a different strawberry to go. Do you know what I mean? We did talk about that.
Well,
Also,
I kind of made the presumption of if I choose a strawberry, I go to the last column where it's
The modifiers.
make it candy or make it juicy. I presume that's what it was going to do. So you're choosing a baseline strawberry,
and what we
affect it with whatever, candy 5, tart, everything like that. That's what I kind of presumed.
That's the correct presumption, and what we try to do to keep those individual bases versatile. For example, they are all lower in sweetness than you might make normally. So in order to allow people to then choose their sweetness on top, the sweetness of the overall profile, we've held that back on those individual elements so that you have the control. And you're absolutely right. Most of them, our style and what we always look for when we're evaluating these new R&D ingredients that we put out is authenticity. We always try and keep the individual one as natural as we can, and then when people want to play with that and take that in different directions, they use the other ingredients together.
Also, Pippa's put in, is there any allowance in algorithm for pod versus sub-ohm versus RDA intensities? That should be explained, I think. Don't get me wrong. Being picky and stuff, because she's obviously one of the better mixers that's sort of looking at it. But she says you think she's onto something. Do you know what I mean? But she's obviously wanting to know. But the thing is, Graham has got his recipes in a pod and a dripper. Do you know?
So I can answer that in a couple of ways. I don't know what I'm going to pick here. Let me just pick a blueberry cordial or something like that.
Well, I saw you had different PG/VG ratios.
So that's the first part, Bill. The first part is wherever you see an add to basket button, whether that's in a version that you haven't bought yet, something on the store, house flavor made by someone else. Every bottle has its own configurations. That's the first step towards supporting different devices, any flavor, any device. What Pippa was getting at there is, should a flavor that's made intended for pods be set up at a different flavor strength or in different ratios to maximize that experience? So what I'll show you for that is another facet of this. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go for myself here just because I know there's a good example. So so we're looking here, so I've just jumped through as if you know all of that. So this is one of my flavors, in fact my only flavor that I've published. We try to keep ourselves, we have the house flavors, we don't try to sort of steal the limelight too much. So this is one of my flavors, and what we're seeing here is it's the product page. So I picked the image for this and I wrote all of this and I picked the tag, so we could talk about that in a bit, for when you're publishing a recipe. Down here is the reviews from the community of people that tried it. And one of the things that we do here is, so we're always looking, very open-mindedly at things we think we can do better. And one of the things we didn't like about most online shops, I'm not only talking about recipe sites, but shops, is the lip service paid to reviews or ratings. It's normally 5 stars, great juice. And you think, well, that really doesn't help me very much. So we have more facets that you can rate about a product, the balance, the pairings, and so on. But one of the things we do is whenever someone does a review, you can put in the setup that you have. The hand check is optional, obviously, but a lot of it's optional, but that does help you. So for example, you'll also, if you buy a community juice, either for MTL or for DTL, it will let you do 2 reviews. So you can't do 2 reviews of an identical purchase and it will ignore the bottle size. But if you go and buy this in a 6 milligram configuration, you can leave a second review. So there is the potential in there for, if you're really getting into the minutiae of, like I'm building a flavor that I want to target MTL type devices, you would hope that that is reflected here, or at least there is the potential for someone reviewing it to talk about that aspect of it.
I would presume if you go back to a recipe, the recipe that you want, that's at 68% at the moment. So I'm presuming that's for an RDA. Would you just increase your flavor strength up by? I
agree. I think it's okay. So this is an interesting nuance here. So the flavor strength.
I was thinking, if you get somebody like, I got sent out a juice. I won't tell you what it is yet because it's still going to be a secret shopper. And it was really nice in the RDA. And I'm trying it in the pod at the moment, and it's struggling to get the flavor in the pod.
Yeah.
I was thinking, now, if I had the choice and I knew I was going to buy this flavor, a community flavor, a little button where I could press and say it's for a pod, and it increases all the flavor percentages up by, say, like 15 or 20%.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Because that's what Pippa's getting at. The flavours taste different at
No,
absolutely.
Pods and stuff like that. Have a little button where you can just go click and it just increases the flavor percentage up.
Interesting idea. Interesting idea. I like that. On this one, just interpreting this 68 here, the one thing that's interesting is we want it to work if you make very simple flavors like 2-3 elements or 2 elements plus sweetness. It should be okay. It should be good enough. The interesting balance here is this is saying it's, let's say, less strong. Obviously, that's how you'd interpret this. But actually, what we really say in this little advice here is if you have a low overall strength, make sure that at least 1 or 2 of them are intense or leading flavors. So Graham, you're absolutely right. You know, if you weren't getting enough from this flavor, you've got the potential. So this one will scale it and keep the ratios the same. So you can crank the volume without having to reimagine everything. Doesn't work perfectly. You know, you probably don't want your sweetness to scale with it, for example. Or maybe your cooler don't want it to scale, but it's just a little touch there.
Well,
so
you could put lock buttons on so you can lock the flavors in that you don't want to scale.
That's a really nice idea. So just we love all of this.
Employ me.
Yeah. I'd love to. No, the locking one before scaling is great. The one comment I was going to say about adding, you know, like, so scale this up for me, or, you know, I want it in everything always intense or whatever. The problem is, what if their flavor was already up here, you know? So that's the challenge there is you need to make sure you got the headroom to go up. But to Pippa's comment, a couple of things there. The other thing is, if you have designed your flavor for MTL, it's up to you to tell the people what you've done. So, you know, I think you can always talk about that in the journey of your flavor. This is a punchy blackcurrant and anise with menthol that is perfect. You tell that story through your product page to help people find it. But I think some tags or some ability to filter by design for MTL or design for DTL would be really cool.
Yeah, but the person that's designing this, you're talking about somebody that's wanting to put a flavor on there and get it out there. But the person that's designing a flavor strictly for themselves that don't know anything about making a flavor, they aren't going to realize it's MTL that I'm vaping, or it's sub-ohm, or it's RDA, or whatever. They're just going to go in and take it as basically blank what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in essence, it's like you've got to catch them before they start.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where, yeah, you might want to incorporate something that says what tank do you plan to use, or do you use on a basis, and then kind of help steer them whenever they start making their first recipe, so to speak. Yeah.
I'd never thought of that. And when we talk about that kind of step-by-step hand-holding wizard, that would be a really great place to start, because, you know, you could ask them what kind of device they're designing for. You could also ask them how generally strong they like their flavors. Like Liam might say, I am on a DTL, but I like very, gentle, delicate, intricate flavors. I don't want something to slap me around the face, for example.
Yeah. Do you have a sweet tooth? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Graham, are you going to put me out of my misery, or do I have to keep?
Yeah, I'll put you out of the misery.
He's got to pretty soon.
Yeah.
We're running out of time.
We finish at 10:30.
Well, people, if you know me, I didn't go in and just do a simple flavor. I went in and just went, right, let's test this. So you probably might recognize the recipe when I share it.
Oh, your cool blue sky! I saw
cool blue sky.
Your cool blue sky. This is it's a good recipe. I was I can tell when I look at a recipe whether someone's going to be happy or not. So I should really wait for you to say that. But I saw this and I thought that will demonstrate what Dripper Labs can do. That's what I thought.
Yeah. So basically, I was going for kind of a Heisenberg feel. So I clicked on everything. I clicked on, the anise to find out, it warned me to keep it quite fairly low, and I knew I wanted it quite low. The sweetness, I kind of put it there, and I normally normally will add 0.5.
So that was, we did the maths earlier, that would be about 20% would be what you typically use.
Which is exactly where I put it. And this is all this is just instinct that I was doing everything on. I've got the raspberry and blueberry for the main flavors. The bubblegum, which is the back note of Heisenberg there. The lemon and lime, couldn't find lemon. Now I use lemon.
Apologies.
It's only low to kind of just to give that a little bit of help. And now this is where, after going to this tab, I presume that if I put juicy, it will juice up these two and leave these alone, which it actually did. The cooling, it's actually turned out exactly what the cooling I wanted. Overall, nearly exactly what I wanted. Really happy with it.
Wow, that's great.
It does need one revision. I would take up the blueberry and raspberry up a bit more to just bring out that flavor to make it a little bit more punchy. And I'll drop the anise a tiny little bit. But apart from that, there's only 3 changes I need for the second revision. I think I'll be happy. And because you sent me out the blue ras.
Oh, yes, I sent you a community equivalent
of the blue ras,
to compare. Yeah.
I know, because that's got blueberry and raspberry in. I got an idea of what you can actually get with a few flavors. Which was the blue raspberry, which is it's really nice. Really enjoyed that. Apart from it doesn't quite work on the pod, but I was vaping that on RDA this morning. But one revision.
Wow, I mean that's
it'll probably be ready.
So are you? Because so obviously you haven't published this yet. I saw you've done a picture. Maybe you've been working on the product page a little bit, but you haven't actually published it to the store. Is that right?
I haven't published it, no.
Okay, so if you do that, then anyone watching in chat is able to go and buy that and give Graham some feedback on his first Dripper Labs creation.
But I would do a revision first.
Yes, that's right.
Second revision where I'll just punch the fruits up a bit. Coming from the DIY, always start low and work your way up.
Great advice.
Us fixers are never happy with the first version anyway.
And my lemon, 14 versions my lemon took. So getting something like that on the second, close to what I wanted, just by using sliders for a second version, I was quite impressed with what it could do. And I did push it. I've got 1, 2, 3,
a lot of layers,
7, 8 flavors in there.
It's VST first time, it was perfect.
Yeah.
You just say.
Pippa's wanting to know, are them teeth real?
I saw the comment and it made me smile even more. They're as real as they can get. Just genuinely happy, Pippa, is the reason you can see them so much. No, thank Graham. Thank you. In fact, thank you all. We'll obviously get a little comment from Benny, I'm sure, on his, but I didn't know you were going to do that. It's really, I didn't even, is that something you normally do, the secret shopping type approach? Or okay, that's really nice. Thank you. That's all their own hard-earned money that they've spent on that Dripper Labs experience. And whatever you got, whether that was the handwritten notes or the freebies and all that kind of thing. That is the first order experience, or you always get the notes, but you've had a really genuine experience there. So we've done nothing different for you or treated you differently just because you're celebrities.
Well, me and Liam actually compared the notes on the invoices as well.
You'll get the welcome. The welcome's common, and hopefully the latter half was unique to you.
Jack actually threw in a freebie, which
that was the vanilla and
that's
the Viennese well.
Viennese well, yeah, and it's actually really nice. The strawberry jam is excellent in it.
Oh, guys, I was so terrified. Go on, Benny. After
as I was saying, Rocky Tooney did say he joined Ripple Labs probably right after it launched. He has a recipe saved up there, but obviously because you don't ship to the USA, you can't do it. Is that something you're going to be looking at that you may be able to? Yeah.
So,
do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But I will also be honest, the US is not going to be one of the easy ones. So the plan is that there are a number of places in Europe. So even though it's tight, a lot of the big mail distributors will take care of that for us. So we will have a lot of European international type shipping, certainly this year, definitely this year. I can't comment right now on the intricacies of the US export laws and things like that. So we will only do what is above board and easy and scalable. But the excitement for me as well, if you imagine then your profiles carrying your national flag or whatever it is, the idea of the community going outside of the UK is really exciting. But so yes, no international options yet, but this year, yes.
So I did do one because I did a couple of them, which were obviously we're running short of time, which I will go over. I might do a little review on myself on my channel. But I did Benny's tart, which was a strawberry tart. At the moment, the strawberry needs to be a little bit more, but everything else is really nice. I'm getting the base to it. I'm getting, do you know what I mean? I'm actually getting a little bit of cream because I did put cream in it. I'm getting that little bit of cream, which I don't taste cream that often. Do you know what I mean? Which is quite surprising.
Benny tastes cream.
But I'm gonna exactly. It's a big thing. I don't taste cream that often, but I do need to push the strawberry a little bit higher than what I had because I'm not getting the strawberry as much as I'm getting more of the base. So I will have a play around with that. But like I say, for first time of me doing it, it's not too bad. The other one that I did press up and back at hand needs some cooling in it. That's what that needs.
Yes, I think we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah,
at the time? We held
it needs
off
a little bit. It needs a little bit of cooling on it because I think that'll make it pop a little bit more. The only tobacco I've tried on back of my hand that's really nice is that if you do like tobacco, just on about this before, the only tobacco needs a little bit more tobacco in it for me, rather than the vanilla. It's more.
We wanted that creaminess to make it a little bit more moreish than most tobaccos are, and I think we overdid it. And like I said, that was one of the really, really early house flavors. So I do agree that if you want that tobacco to come through, clone it and bump the tobacco up another 15%.
That's what I will have a look at and do that. The other one, what did I get as well? Apple butterscotch cheesecake. It's too much butterscotch in it for me. I'm not tasting as much.
I thought you were going to say too much apple because I was quite keen to let the apple through, and I think okay, interesting. Too much.
I get more of the butterscotch. That's on back of my hand. I will vape it and try it out. Yeah. And the other one was a community one, which is more of a Parma Violet. That I'm getting that floral Parma Violet sort of taste to it. That's Fairy Tale. So if you do want to try that sort of flavour, but I'll probably do a little review on my channel rather than on here. I'll probably talk about it, next time I'm on. But
you can also do your reviews on the platform and build up your.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, that's what I will do, and I'll drop reviews on there as well while we're on. Yeah. So yeah, Pippa saying I congratulate Nick and the DL team on taking on this ridiculous difficult startup. That website and back end is something else. It seems mind blowing, to be honest.
Thank you very much, DIY Down Under.
Richard Young saying, proof of the pudding there, rather than judgmental as per some of the comments, think it's a great idea. It's not. We're not judgmental. We're just trying to get our perspective on it, and this is what Nick were saying, that it's hard to get mixers to sort of look at that sort of platform because we like to do our own thing. Do you know what I mean? We like to do as percentage. We like to play around with it, and we accept it as that. But for someone else coming into it, and this is why we brought them on, to open it up to other because he's been on mainstream, as in Flat Cap, been on Cloud Cartel, to that sort of thing. But to mixers, just to say, what do we think? Can we throw some ideas at him that may help us go to there and just help him out, you know, and go on and try it, you know, and hope that we've sort of got some of that to you, where like you've got ideas of where we're coming from and to where, you know, what sort of putting off mixers coming over to your site to sort of have a play around. So I hope that's come around.
Yeah,
as well.
and I've got notes, you know, some of those ideas, some of the, like I said, it's a tightrope between not putting newbies off or general everyone off. But we absolutely want to make it as welcoming an environment as we can for people with a lot more knowledge and a lot more insight into what they're doing.
The other thing, Benny, on yours, where you were saying the vanilla is a little strong and the tobacco doesn't seem to be, that's another subjective type thing. Because if I was vaping that same thing, I would prefer to have my vanilla strong and the tobacco to just not freaking be there, basically.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's where it is.
On the strawberry, I have a question on it. On strawberry is a flavor that most mixers know that if you put the strawberry in something, if you don't back that with another strawberry, that strawberry is going to fade. I mean, and basically after a week or so, you're pretty much not going to taste strawberry. So I'm assuming you've built in those type of things in your stone or your base or whatever to keep that strawberry up there to that notch as to where it is.
Yes, and to expand on that, I don't know if this is scientifically correct, but we feel like by using more than one strawberry in the strawberry, it allows you to get the overall strength up without hitting that chemical thing. If you just put one concentrate really, really high, then whatever that individual chemical flavoring is suddenly goes over the limit. So we try to use rounded, you know, the underlying flavorings inside the concentrates. We try to use a broader spectrum so that you can get it higher without crossing those boundaries. So we do try to take that into account.
All right.
So if you are watching it on replay, just go over and give it a look. Sign up, have a play around, see what you think. If you are in the chat, go over and have a look and see what you think of it. Play around with it, and then you can always talk to Nate. You can get him on Instagram and, you know, say, look, I'm a bit lost on this. Do you think it'd be better to do this? And throw some ideas out as, you know, to help him out. You know, it is, and like some of us are saying, it's, you know, it's going to confuse some newer mixers doing this. It's not taking away from mixing. It's sort of giving them a little bit of an idea of what they can make, rather than, you know, sort of going down the mixing route. And hopefully they'll think, oh yeah, I've tried that apple, I'll give it a go now.
It's like another tool in your armory.
You know, or you can ask Graham, because he's read all the shit on the page now. So you get him on Facebook on Monkey on
I think
Tuesday.
he's read my VAT return, to be honest, Bill. I think he knows how much we spend on paper.
Richard Young's just put a highly interesting show, pretty cool casters to risk putting this on a mixer. We wanted to sort of bring it because everybody's talked about it and that, like, and it just sort of opens it out to other side of things and just sort of see what we think about it.
I think it's a great little gateway to pushing people into DIY mixing. It's the first step. Well, especially it's the first step into it, because I remember when I first got into it, I bought so much rubbish concentrate. I thought I watched all the shows. I knew exactly what I wanted, everything like that. And first flavors I bought were bloody rubbish.
Well, that's it. As an ecosystem, we've done a lot of that for you. You know, the quality is consistently high. Your job is to do the creative bit, do the balancing, learn about the layering and the depths and things like that. But whoever said it was a risk coming on here, you're absolutely right. I've been saying, everyone, I'm going into the lion's den. You know, this is the baptism of fire, because you guys know. And I cannot tell you how delighted / relieved I am that, you know, you've all had a good experience with your first creations. And I did say earlier, I can tell when I look at a recipe whether someone knows about mixing. And I remember I poured your order. I think you put that in on Monday. I poured your order, and when I looked at it as that first check, new creator, I thought that guy knows what he's doing. And it does come through in the balancing and the way you round those flavors out. So
And for all you people out there that keep asking, can you clone this? Can you clone that? Well, now you got somewhere to go on and try to clone this or clone that. Give it a shot yourselves.
It was refreshing to hear Nick turning around and saying, "Oh yeah, just clone that and then just change things."
Yeah, go ahead. You've got it. You've got the whole thing there. You got nothing but time. Order your first bottle. If it ain't right, change it around, adjust it to get it to where you hit your clone that you've been looking for, and you can chase your own white whale.
As someone that's been mixing for a while, I really like the idea, and I think it's been executed quite well as well. I can see me using it like a shiny new toy.
But this is what we're on about. This is why I want to bring on. When we first looked at it, because we had a look at it ages ago, didn't we, Liam Graham, when it went flat, and we were like, "What the hell is this? 100%, 30%, 90%?" And this is what we wanted to get round to you, that it's not 100% when you're going on it. Drop it down like Graham showed you, like Liam showed you. Do it low, and that's where your brain should be. There, it tells you what you should be adding. Like I say, we have talked about things when I met up with him and putting, we need this to go with this, and like they haven't got an ice cream base, but you can make an ice cream base. But what happens if you want to mix the whipping? What cream? So we have talked about this bit, which they're developing. It's a new company. They're developing. So any ideas that you have, go to them and say, look, I want this, and I can't get it by using what you've got. Can you help? Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's very real. We really do listen, whether that's a feature suggestion, a whole new facet of the platform that we never even thought about, or just an ingredient request, or a bit of help with your recipe. All of those, it's very real. We really do pick up your support ticket or answer you on social media within a very impressively short time. Quality of service is something that, like I said, we've been working on it for 3 years. So anyone that signs up or wants to place an order is incredibly valuable to us, as you said, a startup in a very, very challenging industry. So
exactly. Mel says, I'm a mix now, I'll be ordering some this week for as a treat.
Oh, very good. One thing you guys will like, and I know you're watching the time, one last little thing there. There will be coming the idea of open source recipes. So we show our house flavors. If I know that's a very important, integral part of the DIY mixing community. So there will be an extra tick box when you publish your recipes, not tomorrow, probably in about 6 weeks time, 8 weeks time. But you will be able to have not all of your recipes, but the ones that you want to, you can actually make them open source. And by making them open source, it will come with a clone button. So then they can go and personalize that to their own taste as well. So we do want to support that, but we left it out initially because we didn't want it to come across just as a recipe sharing website, that marketplace and the fun of putting products out there rather than only recipes. We wanted to make sure that was clear.
Because when I was making that, I was like that going, when I went to the Blue Raz, I realised I couldn't change that blue raspberry recipe. When I looked at the one I did, I was like, can I make this open source? Because some people wouldn't want the anise in it because they just don't get on with it. I would prefer to just put that up on an open source kind of thing. So people would say, take the anise away.
Yeah,
that's what I want without that.
That it's coming.
Peter's asking on the homework show, what chocolate vape did you do, Net? Did you do a chocolate vape?
What homework show?
I don't know. You just said homework show. Don't know. Peter.
The thing is, though, if you wanted
I've only been on the show.
If you wanted to do what you said, though, Graham, you could just pull up that recipe. You can see what's in it, right?
You can screenshot it and make it.
You would do is you would just go make your own and leave the. You'd make your own and leave the aniseed out, wouldn't you? I mean, just.
No, what I noticed is when you can actually screenshot it and use it as your flavor for a profile picture. I noticed they were doing that with the house flavors and.
So I'll just show you an example there to finish off. So if you go to someone like Jack, this is the infamous Jack that I keep referring to. There's a lovely picture. So he does that a lot. In the sort of the spirit of open source, and in some of them he even gives a little rundown.
That's the one I was reading today, and I thought, well, I'll probably put it in because I like my pictures, so I'll probably put it in the description like that.
Yeah, and what we're suggesting is that by ticking a box, it won't be in your picture, that you'll actually better see them here, and in the bottom there'll be a clone button. While I've got these here, that's it. I'll shut up because I'm pushing you all over, and you've all
No,
got.
it's all right.
Yeah, and Benny's rough on paying that overtime. I'll tell you that right now.
I will just show you because we haven't really touched on it. So this is, you may have noticed when Liam showed his flavor sliders that they have these black, so that you can't change this flavor, and it says it's locked. So if you wanted to make a new version of this, you could just make a new version and adjust it. That's the normal journey. You can only publish a flavor to the store that you have purchased, and that's not us just being difficult. We don't want people just creating stuff that they haven't tried and they haven't sampled. So that locking happens when you place an order, and once you've done that, then when you come into this screen, you see a few extra options down here. So this is where you can put your image gallery up for your product. Again, the recipe is secret, at least until we make open source an option. So you're publishing the flavor or the product, not the recipe. You write your own description. I just wanted to give a quick summary of what these are here. So first thing to say is, when you publish a flavor, at least at this point in time and for the foreseeable future, it goes to what we call early access, which is these yellow bottles. So it's you saying, I'd love to know what people think of this, but it's not the final article. So you can carry on making new revisions. You can change it to another one that you've got in instantly. What these are, so these correlate directly to the ingredients in your recipe. And these are the ingredient tags that when people search on the community store, they are searching by real flavors that are in your recipe profile. So they don't know what percentage they're at, but when we were looking at that product there just before, and you see those tags, or if I go into here, and perhaps I say I'm looking for a red fruit, for example, we can see this is you searching for the real content of the recipe. You don't know how much raspberries in there or whatever it is, but this one has come to the top, or in fact, these two have come to the top because they match 4 of the ingredients that you're looking for. So that's another little bit that we protect the privacy of the creator, but we also allow much more effective searching by you using real information, not what someone said in the sales description or whatever. So when you do publish your flavors, what we try to encourage you to do is you can hide them if you want, but don't hide cooler. You know, if Liam had bought that praline ice cream and it didn't have cooler, he'd be disappointed. So put all the primary notes in there, make sure things like anise are in there, anything that riles someone up the wrong way or that you think they want to know. And what that's going to do over time, if I just go into anything with a review, that'll do. That's going to make sure that your my personal taste score is that little bit better, because if there's no surprises and you've described it fairly and accurately and that kind of thing, then you're hopefully going to get a good score on that as well.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Now I think he's all right. I think what he's on about, when we did the homework show where we had to go off and do some flavours, did you do a chocolate one then?
Oh yeah, I did.
Sorry, Peter. I've just realised what you was on
the
about.
one
Then.
that Liam never did mix his.
Yes,
I mixed them.
That did need changing.
Did you? Have you published it?
I'll publish it now.
Right. So Peter, he will publish it now on the LR, and you can go over and have a look and take a look and see what you think. So I do know what he's talking about. I've just clicked on when he said it doesn't matter. But yeah,
but that's one I don't need to change, because I took a lot of my recipes off because I didn't want people
pinching
the awful ones that I put up.
Yeah, because that was March 5th.
That one's actually okay.
So you're on about the March 5th show. So yes, he will publish it now, so you can go and have a look, Peter. Sorry, I just clicked on while you were talking what you were talking about. So go have a look. So Nick, thank you very much for coming on. I know we've not touched on everything. Do go over and see Flatcap's show, because they touched a lot more on the community sort of building side of things, and of the, so when you publish it, what you will get for money-wise, as in tokens for you get credits for when you sort them, so you can, you build up credits over so long, you get credits for when you buy so many flavours from them, so go over and saw that, and that talks you through that sort of thing. This was just more about the mixing side of the thing.
I can give you a quick answer just so that they don't have to go anywhere. So you get 25p commission. That's the minimum commission for someone buying your 30ml flavour. So if they buy 30ml of an early access flavour, you get 25p, 50p commission on a 60ml sale. And when you have the ability to release them, so you'll still be able to change all the product page, but the recipe will be locked. So if someone falls in love with it, then they know where they're at. And the other thing is that you'll need just a couple of reviews, not a really high bar, but just a couple of reviews to say, yeah, that's a good flavor, to be able to lock it. Then your commissions will double. So it's between 25p and £1. And when you look at your sales in your dashboard, that is something we haven't shown today. You will see the sale, you'll see whether they've left you a review, and really interesting, you'll see a little repeat symbol if someone has come back and bought something from you twice. So that's the holy grail, is to get something that someone's really resonated with and they're regularly putting it in their basket. So it's, like I said, you're not going to retire young, but it's all fun and certainly helps reduce the cost of vaping.
So right, so thank you very much. We will go round and say, so thank you very much for in chat, for being with us and joining and throwing your questions out and bearing with us, because obviously it was a different sort of show. We wanted to show you something different, and bring something different to market and just let you have a look. You want to use it, use it. If you don't, then, by all means don't, but give it a try, see what you think. It's worth trying. Get some flavours ordered, see what you think. And then take it from there. And like I say, you do get the little bit, if you do want to publish them, you get that little bit of commission. It means that you're going to get some bottles free if you do like that juice that you've ordered, So, and it's a little bit of a feedback where you don't get this normally as a mixer from the community side of things. Sometimes you put a recipe out and it'll be lost and no one will ever do it, So it's a way of doing that and getting, a little bit of recognition on the community side of things, and you're getting a little bit of, after a while you build up that little bit of a credit where you can use it to buy your juice. You might, in a month you might have enough to buy a couple of bottles. Do you know what I mean? Which saves you then doing it. So it's a good way of doing it, So we'll go around and say goodbye. We will start with Nick. We'll let you say your goodbyes.
Thank you so much to all of you for inviting us on, not giving us too hard a time, doing your secret shopping. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm very grateful, and maybe we'll come back on the future sometime. Thank you very much for having us. Cheers.
Yeah, Christmas show is coming on and get pissed with us.
Oh, I do like the sound of that one. Oh, and also to everyone in chat, thank you very much. I'm going to go and look at anyone who signed up, and I'll put a free bottle in your account like I said I would. I'll be true to that. So thank you very much.
Oh, do you want to pass it on to...
the same again. Pass it to Liam last time. I'll give it to Graham this time.
Okay. Thanks. It's been very interesting. I've actually been following what Dripper Labs have been doing from very kind of early stages and stuff. And I remember saying to Benny, "Have you seen this?" And we were like,
Well, that was when we couldn't get on. That's what I was saying. When we couldn't get on, and it was just a blank page when you went
registration.
Yeah. And you're sending out the betas and stuff. It's nice to see that where you've got now and everything like that. You can find us over on Monkey on Juice. If you need any help mixing, just send me a message. I'm happily do one-on-ones with you. And if you're just starting out, you can try Dripper Labs, or you can just contact me and I will give you a load of stuff to buy. If you noticed on my social media, there's been a countdown. Benny wouldn't notice. He takes
I didn't see
social
anything.
media. It's now down to 1. So at midnight tonight, it moves into 1 year trading. My birthday for Amatorium.
Happy birthday, Amatorium. So
I'm going to do a big sale. So
there you go.
Keep an eye on the site, keep an eye on social media. I'll announce that at 12 o'clock. And it's, just keep an eye on that. And I'll pass it over to Liam to get rid of his shilling.
Thanks, Nick, for coming on. Been a really great and informative show. Been great having a chat with you as well, learning a little bit about Dripper Labs and what you're all about. Thanks, chat, as well, for being so interactive like you always are, and with some really great questions for our guests. If anybody wishes to follow me for my recipes, you can follow me on ELR, ATF, and Vaping Community under Sherlock Holmes. You can also follow me on Instagram as Sherlock Holmes Mixing, as well as Facebook, Sherlock Holmes Mixing, and I'm in most of the DIY Facebook groups as well, including Monkey on Juice. If you've got any questions at all on mixing, hit Graham up.
Well, I'm quite happy. I'm
He does shout all else.
And if you want to buy any one-shots, please visit DIYFlavorchaser.co.uk for all your one-shot needs, with quite a few great mixers, including Creed, Tam, Zippy, Nick, Graham, myself, and I'm sure I've missed people out. But yeah, visit DIYFlavorchaser.co.uk. And
Simon.
over to Bill.
You left Simon out.
I knew I was going to miss somebody out. I always do.
All right. Thank you, Nick, for coming on. It has actually been informative. I've enjoyed it, even though, unfortunately, I can't get involved in it at the moment. And if you ever figure out the U.S. system type thing, would you call me and let me know? Because I don't have a freaking clue what it is. Thanks, chat, as usual. Great questions and things. Basically, there'll be no Sunday night show this week. Mick's pregnant, and I think he's giving birth Sunday night. No, actually, Monday's a bank holiday, so he won't be on as usual for this. But we will be out. You can catch me on the Late Night Vape Show on Sunday night, other than this Sunday, right following NUBS. And with that, I'll throw it over to Mr. NUBS himself.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody in chat, for joining us tonight. Like I say, it has just been something a little bit different. We just wanted to bring you something a little bit different at the show. I hope you found it interesting and you understand a little bit more about Dripper Labs. Nick, like I say, thank you very much for coming on. Much appreciated. I know you were a bit nervous and, you know, it was going to be a bit of a rite of passage, but I hope it's not been as bad as you thought it was going to be. You know,
Been fantastic.
Good. Don't forget, you can check out our show sponsor, which is DIYFlavorchaser.co.uk. If you use Benny10, you get 10% off. So go over and try some of the best mixers in the UK and the world. Liam's already told you it was on there.
It's Benny 15.
Oh, Benny 15.
15% off.
15% on Benny 15. Even better. Benny 15 for 15% off. Go over, try them out, see what you think, and give him a little bit of support, because obviously he's a new company as well, starting up. Try a few concentrates from, like I say, the best mixers that are knocking around in the world at the moment. Thank you very much to all my fellow casters for coming on and joining me. It's absolutely fantastic. Like I say, without you on, it'd be just me talking to myself, which no one wants, really. So we will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. So I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
But you're sending some black